Far beneath the rolling waves, deeper than the reach of sunlight, lay a magnificent underwater kingdom hidden from the human world. Here lived the Sea King and his 6 daughters. Each mermaid was graceful and radiant, with flowing hair and voices that echoed beautifully through the sea. They loved to sing together.
Dance and play, singing songs throughout the day.
Their laughter and music drifting far beyond the palace walls. But the youngest daughter was different. She was quieter than her sisters, more thoughtful, with curious eyes that mirrored the deep blue of the ocean itself. While the others raced through the waves or practiced their songs, the Little Mermaid often lingered behind, observing the world with gentle wonder. She loved to listen. She listened to the whisper of the tides as they brushed against rocks and coral. She listened to the soft creak of ancient shipwrecks resting on the ocean floor. She listened to the stories carried by drifting shells and the secrets shared by passing sea creatures. A grandmother, wise and kind, often sat beside her and spoke of distant wonders.
The ocean holds many secrets, child, but none so magnificent as the floating islands where the sky meets the sea.
She told her about the land of humans, about warm, golden sunlight that touched the skin, green forests that stretched as far as the eye could see, and a vast sky filled with stars instead of water. She spoke of birds that flew freely through the air, and of people who walked upon the land, building homes and sailing across the sea.
One day, you will be allowed to rise to the surface and see it all for yourself.
The Little Mermaid treasured those words. She held them close to her heart, dreaming of a world she had never seen, yet, somehow, already loved. At last, on the evening of her 15th birthday, the long-awaited day arrived. With gentle encouragement from her sisters, the Little Mermaid began her journey upward.
It's time!
Go, sister! We're right here!
Be brave!
Slowly and carefully, she swam toward the surface, leaving behind the familiar glow of her underwater home. The water grew lighter and warmer with every movement. Then suddenly, her head broke through the waves. Above her stretched a sky painted in colors she had never imagined. The sunset glowed in shades of rose, gold, and soft purple, reflecting across the water like a dream. The air felt cool and fresh, carrying scents she could not name. Nearby, a ship floated upon the sea, glowing with lantern light. Music and laughter drifted across the waves, bright and joyful. Curious, the Little Mermaid swam closer, peeking carefully above the water. On the deck of the ship stood a young prince, laughing with his friends. His smile was warm, and his eyes shone with kindness and excitement as he looked out over the sea. As the Little Mermaid watched him, she felt something stir deep within her, a feeling new and powerful. Her heart beat faster, and though she did not yet understand it, she knew that this moment would change her life forever. She remained hidden among the waves, watching in silence, her heart racing like a drum. But as the night deepened, the sea began to shift. Without warning, dark clouds rolled across the sky. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and the once calm sea began to grow restless. Waves rose higher, crashing against the ship as the wind howled fiercely. The Little Mermaid watched in fear as lightning split the sky in blinding flashes. Rain poured down, and the ship was tossed violently by the storm. Then, disaster struck. With a terrible crack, the ship broke apart. Sailors were thrown into the raging sea, calling for help as waves pulled them under. The Little Mermaid searched desperately through the darkness, her heart pounding. Then she saw him. The prince struggling to stay afloat. Without hesitation, she swam toward him. She wrapped her arms around him, holding his head above the water, shielding him as best she could from the crashing waves. Though the storm raged around them, she did not let go. Slowly, with great effort, she guided him through the churning sea toward the shore. At last, they reached the beach. She laid him gently upon the sand and listened closely, waiting anxiously until she heard his breath return. Relief washed over her as his chest rose and fell. But as footsteps approached, the Little Mermaid slipped back into the sea, hiding behind the rocks. From there, she watched as a young woman discovered the prince and helped him awaken.
Hear me. Wake up, please.
What happened?
You're awake.
I am now. Thank you.
The prince never knew who had truly saved him. But the Little Mermaid would never forget him. Back in her underwater home, nothing felt the same. The songs of her sisters no longer brought her joy, and the beauty of the ocean could not quiet her thoughts. Her heart belonged to the surface now, and to the prince she could not forget. From her grandmother, she learned that mermaids did not have immortal souls, but humans did.
If a human truly loves you, you may gain a soul like theirs.
The Little Mermaid's heart filled with longing. The idea of belonging fully to that world, of sharing a soul and a life, felt distant, yet irresistible. At last, she made a brave and dangerous decision. She swam to the far edge of the sea, to a place where the water grew dark and twisted shadows clung to broken rocks. Few mermaids dared to go there. This was where the Sea Witch lived. The Sea Witch listened carefully as the Little Mermaid spoke of her wish to become human. "I can help you," the witch said slowly, her voice smooth and cold. "But every wish has a price." She offered a magical potion that would transform the mermaid's tail into human legs. In return, the Little Mermaid would lose her beautiful voice, and every step she took on land would feel like walking on sharp glass.
If the prince loves another, your heart will break, and you will vanish into sea foam.
The Little Mermaid hesitated only for a moment. Then she nodded.
The bargain is sealed.
With a swirl of dark magic and glowing bubbles, the bargain was sealed. When the Little Mermaid awoke on the shore, the sun warmed her face, and the sound of waves filled her ears. Where her tail once had been, she now had human legs. The pain was sharp, but her determination was stronger. Soon the prince found her. Though she could not speak, he was drawn to her gentle smile and kind eyes. He welcomed her into his palace, curious about the quiet girl who had appeared from the sea. She learned the ways of the human world, walking through gardens filled with flowers, listening to music she could no longer sing, and watching the stars from balconies high above the ocean. Yet every step brought pain, and every day her heart ached with words she could never speak. Though the prince cared for her deeply, he believed his rescuer was someone else, the girl who had found him on the shore. And soon he was promised to her. On the night of the prince's wedding, the Little Mermaid stood once more on the deck of a ship. The sea lay calm and dark beneath her, reflecting the pale glow of the moon. The music from the celebration drifted softly across the water, joyful and distant, as if it belonged to another world. She stood quietly, her heart heavy, her thoughts drifting between two worlds she could never fully belong to. Slowly, the surface of the sea began to shimmer. Her sisters rose silently from the water, their faces pale and their long hair cut short, floating gently around them like shadows. They looked at her with love and sorrow in their eyes.
We made a deal.
They whispered, holding out a shining blade that caught the moonlight.
We gave up our hair so that you might live. If you give up the prince, you may return to the sea before the sun rises.
The Little Mermaid closed her eyes. She stepped softly toward the sleeping prince, who rested peacefully nearby, unaware of the choice that stood before him. His face was calm, his breathing steady, just as it had been on the shore when she first saved him. Her hands trembled as she looked at him. She thought of the ocean, of coral gardens, drifting shells, and the gentle songs of her sisters. She thought of her grandmother's stories, of sunlight and souls, of love that asks for nothing in return. At last, she understood. True love was not about being chosen. It was about choosing kindness. As the first light of dawn touched the sky, the Little Mermaid stepped back. With a quiet breath, she lowered the blade into the sea. It slipped from her hands and disappeared beneath the waves, leaving the water undisturbed. She turned toward the ocean. With every step, the pain grew sharper, but her heart felt strangely light. She walked into the waves, letting the water rise around her legs, her waist, her shoulders. The sea welcomed her gently. As the sun rose higher, the Little Mermaid expected to fade away, to dissolve into foam and vanish with the tide. But instead, she felt something change. The water lifted her, and a warm breeze surrounded her. Slowly, she rose above the surface, weightless and free. The pain disappeared, replaced by a calm she had never known. She had become something new, a spirit of air and sea, born of kindness and selfless love. From above, she looked down upon the ocean she had always known. The waves shimmered softly, and the world felt wide and full of possibility. A gentle voice surrounded her, carried by the wind. Because she had given without expecting anything in return. Because she had chosen love over herself. She was given a new path. She would earn an immortal soul not through sorrow, but through kindness, by watching over sailors in storms, guiding lost children, and whispering hope wherever it was needed. And so, she drifted between sea and sky, carried by sunlight and breeze, her heart finally at peace. Though her story began in the depths of the ocean, it did not end there. It rose into the sky, carried on the whisper of waves and the promise that true love is found in selfless hearts.
Thank you for listening to this wonderful story. If you enjoyed it, Don't forget to subscribe to the Eternal Fairy Tales channel and hit the bell so you won't miss any magical adventure. See you soon with a new enchanted story.